Hey, welcome to this episode of the Veteran Business Community Podcast. Listen today as we interview a IP or intellectual property patent attorney. He's going to tell us everything that it takes to file a patent, copyright, trademark, things like that, and also the hot water that you can get into if you infringe on somebody else's IP. And you're going to hear me screw up within the first 30 seconds because I couldn't even pronounce his name right. So hope you enjoyed the episode. Stay tuned, stay profitable. We'll catch you at the end. See ya.
You served your country honorably. Now follow hundreds of other veteran entrepreneurs to start your own mission as a business owner. The Veterans Business Community has all the resources you will need to be successful as a small business owner. Join today.
All right, boys. All right. Hey, we are live here today. So this is the Veteran Business Community. I'm David Jones, one of the hosts with my business partner here, Hal Fisher. And as our guest on today, we have Logan Faucher. Damn it, I messed it up already. Look at that. Faucher. All right. And, you know, with 2 years of French, you think I'd be able to get that one all right. But I guess not. I should go back to school. So Logan's going to join us here today. I guess I don't want to explain his title, but he comes from Feeney IP Law. We have a lot of small businesses that, you know, have questions about, you know, intellectual property, copyrights, patents, trademarks, things like that. So we figured it'd be good to bring somebody on board here to talk about that. So Logan, why don't you please introduce yourself? Tell us quick your name, your military background, and kind of what it is you really do for small business.
Sure. My name is Logan Faucher. I'm a patent attorney with Feeney IP Law. I was in the Navy for 7 years as a nuclear mechanic aboard a submarine, the USS Olympia. We're a boutique law firm, so we kind of focus on intellectual property prosecution, so drafting patent applications, trademark applications, copyright applications, getting them all registered with, you know, the USPTO or the Copyright Office. That's kind of what we focus on. We dovetail into anything related, non-disclosure or confidentiality agreements, you know, business agreements, licensing assignments, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, NDAs are something I deal with on the mergers and acquisition side all the time, but I think it's something that more people should be familiar with and not scared of either, right? It's a common everyday thing that you should be ready to deal with in business.
No, it is common. And you can go to an attorney and have it drafted up. A lot of times if you're speaking with larger companies, they already have their own drafted up and they send it over and, you know, we can review it for you. I think that's always a good idea. Important things with NDAs, you know, make sure that you've identified the parties properly so that you can later look back and determine who is involved in the NDA and then, you know, describe kind of what information is getting disclosed either way.
Yeah. And as far as the business side, I always tell the example of, you know, you're going to write contracts, right? If you're a business owner, you're going to have, you know, some sort of agreement with another contracting service or, you know, like a plowing company, or maybe you're going to have clients or tenants sign, you know, tenant agreements or things like that. And I stress to people how important it is to make sure that you have someone that understands that industry and that state to be able to protect you and have the things written in there to make sure that you're not in legal hot water or think you're covered and you're not really covered. That these are the things where either pay a little bit now or pay a lot more later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hiring an attorney for anything that you do is just kind of the cost of doing business, really. It's definitely a good idea to find an attorney in the field of what you're looking for. You know, if it is IP, you know, it's a patent attorney, a trademark attorney, somebody like that. But, you know, maybe you don't come to me if you're looking to draft up like a commercial leasing agreement for a building. Because, you know, intellectual property attorneys aren't going to know all the nuance of the state law or the local ordinances or anything like that.
Right. So let's get into some of the fun stuff. So give me some examples, if you can think of any here, of, you know, some things, maybe even best practices of what small business owners should be thinking of when they're launching their business, like what needs to be protected, what doesn't, and, you know, where have you seen someone really get hosed?
Mm-hmm. I would say first, it all depends on, you know, what you're going to be selling. If you're making something that's new, if you're inventing something to sell, it's always good to look at getting a patent, because that'll give you the exclusive right for 20 years to make and sell this. That's always a good first step. Any business getting a trademark is going to be a huge thing to go through. It's very important that you do a search beforehand. You don't want to think up a trademark that somebody else is already using, that somebody else already has registered, because then you'll probably end up putting your trademark on all these goods, advertising, marketing, spending all this money only to get a cease and desist letter at the end of the day. And then you're out all that money because you have to come up with a new name. So it's definitely good to do a search beforehand. You can Google search. Not everybody registers their trademarks or applies to. So a Google search is good to do first. You can search the USPTO. I guess we, as a boutique IP firm, we kind of specialize in doing that. So we'll search both of those. We'll search the Trademark Trials and Appeal Board to see if anybody is, opposing or canceling marks or filing lawsuits. We'll search all through that. And then additionally, we search the World Intellectual Property Organization, so WIPO, just to see if somebody has registered the trademark that you're looking for in a foreign country. Because if it's within 6 months, then you can you maintain that priority date from when you filed. So if somebody filing today in England could file 6 months from now in the U.S. and they would beat anybody else to that trademark. And then if you're not doing something like that, if you're writing a book or writing a song or something like that, drawing pictures, copyright protection is always good. That's going to be protection for the whatever you express, your creative expression that's fixed in a tangible medium. It's just something written down, put down permanently. A big pitfall with that we've seen recently, if you're building your website or putting something out on social media and you're searching around on Google, you find a picture that you like and you download it, slap it up on your website or social media, and you get a letter from somebody demanding $30,000.
So how does an individual protect themselves? Because I've heard certain platforms like YouTube, there was some law that was passed that kind of protects platforms, right? To say as long as they have the option to be able to take it down afterwards, like the platform does, that the platform itself isn't liable. Well, what about an individual? Like what happens if you are infringing and you didn't know you were? Like is it automatically like you're going to get sued or could get sued?
Yeah, potentially. At least for copyright, if somebody has a registration, they can either ask for actual damages or their statutory damages as well, baked into the law. The statutory damages are anywhere from $750 to $30,000 per infringement.
Per infringement. What does that mean?
Yep. If you post it you have to post it several times, or if you're putting it on. If you find a picture you like and you print it on a T-shirt and start selling that, each T-shirt that you sell should be an infringement, anything like that. So it can quickly, the number can quickly go up, and I think we saw that with back in the day, Napster and LimeWire and all those sites where you could just illegally download songs, right?
Totally pirate.
Yeah. Each download was copyright infringement. So it was hundreds of thousands or millions of downloads.
I read somewhere, is it true that you don't even need to have like that little C with the circle around it, like that copyrighted logo anymore on a piece of work? Is that a thing? Or
it's definitely good to have, especially if you're looking for as much damages as possible to get. Along with the damages or the actual damages and the statutory damages, you can get court costs and attorney's fees and other things like that. But you have to provide some type of notice.
What about the person that didn't notice because they didn't think it was copyrighted because there wasn't that mark on it, right? So does that give you a little more leniency?
It's kind of too bad. So a lot of this is, yes, it might be copyright infringement, but that would probably all go to how much the damages are going to be. Are you going to pay 750 per infringement, or are you going to pay $30,000 per infringement? And then there's separate ones on top of that. If you willfully do this, if you knowingly do this, and you're trying to make a lot of money on it, the court can increase the damages up to $150,000 per infringement. But then, like you said, somebody who doesn't really know, would have no reason to know, they're very sorry, they take it down right away. The court can also say it was innocent infringement and lower the damages to $200 per infringement.
Right, because that's the thing. Like again, a lot of people are shooting home videos or even, out in public. And we were talking about this right before the show. What happens if you catch like a bystander going by, or maybe even a company logo or a truck drives by, or, a business. Like I used to remember seeing videos where everything was blurred out. Like you couldn't show logos and people were holding a Coke can, but you couldn't see it because it was blurred out. So where's the line? Like what can you do? What can't you do? Sorry to put you on the spot here, but
no, that's why. I mean, that probably deals more with like a privacy law than like copyright registrations or anything like that. So I'd say probably speak with somebody else, some privacy law attorney.
All right. So if I was out in public, like, trying to shoot like a little sales video for myself or something like that, and, I caught a logo in the background or something like that, that's not quite the same.
It's not quite. It would depend on the company, I think, if they're going to be mad that their trademark or business name is in your video. Because, I mean, they don't want bad press from somebody else.
Right. I had a question. So my own situation here. So I've been confused oftentimes. So I run a business consulting, practice. And, I work with small business owners and have for years, probably like 6 years or so. I've had the company formed. There's another one. So the name of my business is 214 Consultants, right? After your DD 214, when you get discharged. So I thought it was a nice play because I work with, service veterans that are entrepreneurs looking to get into small business. There's another company in Texas, Hal, no offense. I know that's your home state there. Well, at least the state you're living in now. But in Texas, there's a 214 Consulting that literally launched like months after me. And then I'm looking at that. I'm like, people are confusing the two of us because we're both in a similar industry. We're both in consulting. We both work with small businesses. And I'm like, is this something that's worth looking at? And would they have known, because I filed in the small, tiny little state of Rhode Island, and they filed in the second largest state in the country, in Texas. Is it okay that because they're in a different state that they can have a name that's similar, or what is that?
So it depends on, that's, lawyers use that a lot. It depends, but it really does in this case. So you can get state trademarks. So you can apply and register your trademark in individual states, however many you want, or you can go to the USPTO and get protection across all 50 states and territories. So it's usually, the first person to file is going to have that priority date, and they're going to be able to exclude anybody else from using that trademark in the industry. Because we don't, as long as there's no likelihood of confusion. So, in your case, if you just filed in Rhode Island and they filed in Texas, two different states, you could probably bring a lawsuit, but it's going to cost a lot of money. I think it's just going to cost a lot of money, and you guys are far enough apart.
Yeah. And I'm never looking to sue anybody.
No, and
I'm just thinking, for a small business owner, what should they do to protect themselves when they're thinking about launching? So people are always thinking about the idea, and I'm like, get the idea down, like get it started, get your business started, register it, So in that case, yes, obviously, when you file with your Secretary of the State, they're going to look to make sure the name's not already taken and available, right? But it seems like it would be best practice to also do a national search online just to make sure there isn't anybody else doing it. Because if your name ever does get out there and big enough, then they might have an opportunity to a cease and desist or something else.
Yeah, I think the application for state trademarks in Rhode Island actually has a checkbox that says, I've searched this name in the state trademark database and the USPTO, and it's not taken, something like that.
Is
But
that a
I think
self-attestation, or is
yeah,
that a
yeah, it'd be a self-attestation. But yeah, I think if you're going to start a business, especially if you think it's going to be big enough that you're outside of one state, if you're going to be selling, if you're going to put up a website, marketing all over the place, just file a trademark with the USPTO. Definitely get a federally registered trademark, or search it, see if it's even available. And like you brought up in your case that this other company is also in consulting for veterans, so kind of the same business, the same type of service. So those likely would overlap. So there would be confusion, and if you can document confusion, in the case of any small business that's starting up, if you can document this confusion, it's definitely good to write it down, take screenshots of websites, hold on to those emails of people saying that they are confused. So that's all good evidence if something were to go to trial. And I guess I should say for at least for trademarks, there's different trademarks have different strengths too. You mentioned 214, your company, for the DD 214.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an easy, like probably suggestive trademark, which is kind of middle tier. It's usually what people go to first. They think, what am I selling, and what's a word that kind of brings that to mind. So when you think of getting out of the military, everyone signs their DD 214. I'm building a company that works with that. Suggestive. A little weaker trademarks are descriptive if you're describing exactly what you're doing, or some property of what you're selling. And then the least, or the words that you can't get trademark protection for, are like the generic terms. So you wouldn't be able to trademark, consulting services, because that's exactly what you're doing, or t-shirt, or bicycle company, or something like that, because that's a term that everybody who's selling those types of goods or services has to use to be able to sell. If you want a stronger trademark that has the more value, you can make up your own term. You can make up your own word, something like Xerox or escalator. Those are the strongest, because it's a word that was never known before. It was made up. Nobody else should come up with it or be able to use it.
Escalator? I never even thought of that. I just figured that's what they were called. And is that
Yeah,
your company?
it's so if I remember right, I don't know how long it was, 100 years ago, when the first person came up with that invention. It was a moving staircase is how they described it. And so they came up with the escalator, a made up term. All right. And then they did get it registered as a trademark, because it was a made up term. The problem is that you have to continuously police your mark, make sure no one else is using it, and make sure that nobody else is using it in a generic way. And so this company, didn't go after anybody else. Other people were selling the moving staircase as an escalator, maybe under their own company, but saying the word escalator. And over time, it became generic. And so that's what we call genericide of a trademark.
Well, how long does that last? Because isn't it like patents are like 20 years, right? I think for
Patents are 20 years from the filing date of your application. Now, you can extend it by a year by filing a provisional application. Trademarks, once you get it registered, you have to show that you're using it in commerce still at 5 years. And then every 10 years, there's a renewal that you have to do. And those, as long as you're using the trademark in commerce, you get to keep it. So there's trademarks that go back to the 1800s that somebody still, every 10 years they file the application, they take a picture, submit a specimen, and they get it for 10 more years.
Wow. Because you said, kind of like became almost like the common word to use for it. Like I think of Band-Aid or Kleenex, right? Those are two brands that we associate it with. And technically, and I learned this, I think when I was in the Army, when they were trying to do, one of my supply sergeants was ordering, something to do with, bandages, Band-Aids, whatever. And they were self-adhesive strips, self-adhesive first aid strips or something like that. I'm like, you mean a Band-Aid? He's like, no, Band-Aids is a brand name. That's not the actual thing.
Yeah, I wish I had a Band-Aid box, but I think they have, they actually write on there Band-Aid branded Band-Aids or something like that. Teflon does a similar thing. If you say Teflon, most people think of the pan, but it's the company that makes pans that are coated in Teflon, right? And so they always have Teflon coated frying pan, Teflon coated whatever pan. And so if you keep doing that and you keep policing your mark, they send out letters to other people, make sure that you're not saying that your product is a Teflon product or that it's made out of Teflon, or it could be made out of Teflon, but make sure that you police your mark so that when people think of Teflon, they think of the company or the product, and they don't think of it as being generic. And so they also include that in any marketing materials that they do. If they're writing letters or emails, they make sure to put Teflon branded, whatever product they have. If you have to keep up on it. It takes a lot of time, but it's really important if you have a great trademark like that everyone knows, and you don't want it to go generic.
Nice. All right. So do you have any examples of, again, when small businesses didn't take the proper action? Because again, this isn't our mindset. We're wearing 100 different hats when we're launching a business. We got 1,000 things to worry about. I mean, just staying compliant with payroll is enough to make you lose sleep, not to mention, trying to deal with a trademark and trademark. See, I can't even say it, right? That's how bad it is. Right. So, but are there any like scenarios that you've kind of seen that are just, common everyday things where if you started a business, you would automatically have done this, but other small businesses not thinking about it, just kind of like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that was a thing.
I think we touched on it before, but the trademark is very important. It's very costly if you don't do the search beforehand and apply for a trademark, whether it's just a state one or federal. It can be either, but it's extremely important because we did have a client who did not do a trademark search beforehand. Right, he came up with it was a decent name, but someone else already had a trademark for the exact same goods and services, and now he's got a warehouse with 10,000 products with this name on it. And he knows about it. He can sell it, but probably gonna be in some trouble if he does.
Wow. So what is he just holding on to inventory now? Is that what's happening? Like he something he can't sell now?
That I'm not sure of right now. But as an attorney, you'd probably say you have to get rid of it. You got to bite the bullet. And then that's all that money wasted. We've been getting, I guess, especially for new businesses, if you're doing marketing, social media, internet, anything like that, figure out a way to, make your own pictures, to make your own images, to do everything yourself or hire someone to do this. And that's really important because we have several people who come to us with, copyright infringement letters. And it's because they downloaded a picture from, Google Images and thought they could use it, and they get a letter. Or what's been happening, I think probably recently on social media, especially Instagram, if you're using a song in your marketing, you have to make sure it's properly licensed to be used for commercial purposes.
Yeah, and I mean, I should probably take more time. I mean, how am I crawling his seat right now? Because, I try to take, things like this and I'll turn them into podcasts or, little snippets and shorts and put them on social. And then I try to do like a little intro, outro video to make it a little bit more entertaining and whatnot. And I'm kind of assuming that all those are free to use that are on that platform, right? I know that there are some premium ones where you do have to pay, but sometimes they're not obvious, right? And I'm just assuming that because they're there and I can use them, that they're good to go, right? So, and I don't know how to check it. Like, how do I check like a musical sound if it's just on a platform that I don't know? I didn't go online and find it. Like it's in the platform that I'm using, like the editing software. So how do I even look up a tune? Like I wouldn't even know how to start.
Usually you go to the terms and services, or I mean, you got to kind of really dig down deep and just go searching through whatever platform you have and see what type of license they have. And once you figure that out, then you can go to the terms and services and see what that means. And it's usually still not very clear after that. But the like large companies like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they're well established. If they're going to be infringing or improperly licensing anything, it's going to cost them probably a lot of money. So they spend a lot of money on the front end to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'll say like when I go to upload my YouTube video, it always scans it first before it lets me upload just for any sort of content like that. And it asks too, like, do you have anything AI generated? Do you have anything fake? Do you have promotional things in here? And then it will go through the recording itself pretty quick. I mean, usually within like a minute or so, and say, okay, we didn't find anything. So, and then they'll post it. So I feel like, okay, well, that's good because I didn't think I was using anything. But that did make me think of something. So you're saying like, Google images and stuff like that too, but now we're in the age of AI, and I go on platforms and I give it a prompt, so I do like a text to image sort of, software prompt, and I go in there and it creates a handful of images, and I pick the one I want, I download it, and boom, there's my thumbnail all of a sudden, right? I don't know if other people are doing that, if it gave them the same output, if they also post on there. I'm thinking it's original content because I told it to do it, right? But, have you seen anything like that come about where someone's like, oh no, I got that same one and the AI gave it to him, even though it was your own prompt that you typed in to get it.
Yeah. AI is going to be a weird thing. We don't have any clients that have come in with anything like that, but at least for copyright registration, you need some human input, and you only get protection for what you would contribute to it, the new expressive idea. So if whatever AI machine that you're using is, creating this entire thing, maybe you don't get protection for the entire thing. Maybe you only get protection for little pieces of it based on exactly what you typed in the prompt and anything like that. You don't get protection for what they call cenofair, which is just things that are out there that everybody uses, common things that, there's nothing new or expressed about it. But yeah, I think people using, ChatGPT, Grok, and Claude, whatever, Perplexity, to design logos, to make content, you may be able to get copyright protection, but I don't know how strong it's going to be.
All right. So I am curious here. So your military background, Hal and I both come from the background where we were two different services, but we both ended up spending years recruiting. But how do you get from nuclear submarines into IP patent law? Like how does that jump happen?
So I guess it started off before that, really. So I'm from Iowa, so I got a bachelor's of science in biology from Iowa State. And, what does one do with a biology degree? I went back home and became a financial advisor for an old wrestling coach, right? So I did that for a couple of years. I got the Series 7 and 66 license, right? Financial advisor. I'm like, this isn't really for me. So I had a younger brother who joined the Navy before I did. And he told me it's in the nuclear program, so I'm going to be on a ship, a nuclear powered ship. And I just said, that sounds really cool. I would like to do that too. So I joined, and we kind of went through our entire service in the same area. We were at boot camp together. We were at training in South Carolina together, the A school, power school, and then prototype upstate New York. And then we both got orders to the Olympia in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor, at around the same time. And so we were out there for a few years. So the boat was commissioned in 1984, I think. So decently old, and it was ready to be put down. So we sailed it to Washington and decommissioned it. Took like 7 months or so. But I was coming up on the end of the 6 years I had to be in, and trying to figure out if I was going to stay in or not. And I think I'd already decided that I was not going to stay in, but I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. And as you guys know, the military gives you the GI Bill, all those benefits. I'd already been through college, but you can use it for medical school, law school, anything else. So I decided on law school. And while I was looking at law school and maybe potential jobs, I came across patent law. And patent law is special because you're supposed to have a certain degree, some type of science or technical or math or engineering degree, if you want to be a patent attorney. There's some other ways to do it, but that's kind of the main way to do it. And I said I had a biology degree. Maybe I'll just do patent law. And with bio, I tried to get as far east as I could because I heard Boston was big for biotech firms, big for biotech IP. And I made it all the way to Rhode Island. Pretty close. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Wow. So you were able to be through training and in a unit with your brother?
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing, because my brother and I did the same thing. We joined kind of like on that buddy program in the Army, and we went to basic training, advanced training, and then in the same unit. But I remember in either basic or AIT, whatever it was, the drill sergeants finally found out that we were brothers. Like, they couldn't tell. With the last name Jones, there were 5 Joneses in my company, so it's not like they made the connection. But when they finally found out that we were brothers, they're like, you guys can't be training together. And they went back to the whole Sullivan brother thing from World War II, and 5 brothers died on the same ship, and that they don't let brothers train together anymore. So, and then there was this whole big stink that came up. So I'm just curious that they did the same, kind of put you guys together too. Did you run into that at all?
No, I think it got brought up a lot. They talked about the Sullivan brothers too on the boat. Everybody did, and it was like I think the 4 Sullivan brothers who are from Iowa, too. They got conscripted in World War II into service, and they all got put on the same boat and it went down. Which I guess it's different now that we both volunteered to serve, and I guess we still had another brother and sister out there too. So. It's a little bit different, but yes, strange. I think it was probably better since we get along fairly well.
Yeah, it was. I'm glad I did it with my brother too. And then, I stayed to make a career. I did 20. He got out after 8. But actually, when I became a recruiter, Hal, this is an interesting story. My first enlistment was my brother's re-enlistment. I put him back in. He did his 6 years, and then he had that 2 years of IRR time. And my first contract was to take him out of the IRR and put him back into the Army National Guard to finish his 2 years. So,
no, I like that. You said the buddy program. I think it's a good thing. It's nice to have somebody that takes a journey with you.
Awesome. So I think we got a question that came through here. So it says, related to IP, which is intellectual property right for us dummies here. Business owners protect their brand and IP if they're teaching classes and have branded method that they are teaching. So again, how do you, I guess to wrap this up is, how do you protect a method of teaching or things like that? Like, what does that fall under?
So, you can if you're branding your classes, you can trademark educational services. And if you come up with your own curriculum, your own class, you write it down, you put it on paper, put it in a presentation, put it in something that's, fixed and tangible, and you can get copyright protection on that. And the copyright, so the copyright protection is going to protect the, your creative expression of that information, and you'll be able to prevent other people from using what you came up with. So that would be how you do classes.
Copyright. Okay. So, Hal and I, we run the veteran business community on the school platform there. We have like a dozen classes that we're, constantly updating, and editing is the other thing too. So it's not just a static standard class. Like as people's needs change, as technology changes, as needs change, we update the material there. So like, what is it? Is there a cost to an individual, if they were going to try to do it on their own versus, try to go through a legal office for the assistance, and how heavy of a lift is that for an individual that doesn't really understand it?
Yeah. So all these are going to have some type of government fee, and then our service fee for doing this. If you do it by yourself, it'll be the government fees. But patents they're the most expensive. It takes a lot of time. And it's a long process for anyone trying to do that. It's going to be years before you may get a patent granted. So I think everyone should know that. And all the intellectual property law is going to be specific to countries. So you might file a copyright registration or a patent or a trademark in the U.S., but you're not protected in Canada, or maybe you're not protected in Mexico, something like that, or any country like that. Trademarks are kind of the middle in terms of cost, and they're a little quicker. Right now, when you file a trademark, I think the USPTO is looking at 5 or 6 months to a first action. Either an office action where you have to argue a little bit, or a notice of allowance if it sails through. And then copyright registrations are usually about 3 months. If you file it properly, no questions, they get granted. And the copyright register application is going to be the cheapest. But there's a dozen types of copyright register applications that you can file. You just got to select the right one.
All right. And is that like obvious for someone to know what to select, or not so much?
Not always. Not always.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Then so the copyright registration, if you do get it registered for your class, for the information, for the presentation, that's what it's going to protect. If you start changing it, you may still have some protection on it, but if you end up changing it too much, then the copyright registration will no longer cover it, and you just have to apply for another one. So a lot of times people bundle these things together. You could bundle the whole class curriculum as one. Then each individual chapter you could do as well. You could do all the separate images. If you're making videos, you might bundle those all together, or do individual videos, or still images from the video if you want to. And that could be several separate copyright registrations.
All right. Yeah. You mentioned the video, and one thing that, I see a lot of people doing is they watch somebody else's video that's posted on social, call it YouTube, whatever. Right. And then they kind of critique it afterwards. So they kind of, they'll play somebody else's video, and then they'll say like their 2 cents, where does that fall? Like, is that all right to do, to be able to just, take somebody that's already, they're already out there. It's already something that's posted on social for everybody to see. Right. And then just throw your 2 cents on that. Like, where does that fall?
No, so it falls under a defense to copyright infringement. It's fair use. So if you're criticizing, commenting, teaching, or reporting on the news, something like that, you can use somebody else's copyright if it's necessary, as long as you're doing that.
All right.
So
that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah. So usually I don't think usually you do, like the whole video. I probably wouldn't take the full Avengers movie and, sit there and critique the entire thing.
No,
But,
you can't
if
do that. You
you,
watch the whole thing, restream it somewhere, and say, "Yeah, that was good."
yeah,
See?
yeah, I'd stay away from that. But yeah, use little clips.
Yeah.
And, so the thing about all this infringement talk is that, like, you can still get sued for anything, right?
Hmm.
So depends on how good your defense is, the damages. Everything's a cost of business. How much do you want to pay to defend this? How much do you want to pay to make it go away, to settle?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
how risky do you want to be in your business?
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I always have questions with, So um, through the Veterans Business Outreach Center, like we teach for Department of Defense, the business training. And, in that they talk one about putting together your BAIL team, which is an acronym, BAIL. So, banker, accountant, insurance, and lawyer, people that you need to have in your corner when starting your business, at least somebody with some insight to help you get your business started. But then, the other piece of it talks about, so there's an IP part of the training. And very rarely do we actually have a skilled lawyer on. So maybe hopefully we can get you back and get you some to train one of those modules here for us locally. I think I'm teaching 3 classes this week, 2 in Mass and 1 in New Hampshire. But on the IP side of the house, I often think when I have a client that's coming through, and I've only had a couple clients that actually have like true inventions that had a patent. It's not very common for me to
Mhm.
see it anyway. But then I also think, what is the ability for you to even defend that? Like, say you gave your patent to China to see if they can manufacture it for you, and they steal it and they start doing it, and you're like, well, I'll just sue them. I'm like, well, do you know what the cost is to that? What do you think you're even going to get back, and how long is it going to take? And do you have the money to do it? These are questions that I don't really have answers to. It's not my field at all. So, but I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Yep. So we don't deal with infringement as much as drafting the applications, but I mean, patent infringement is very expensive. Yeah, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars probably to defend it. I think if you have an invention, it kind of depends on the value of it. If you get a patent granted and you're selling this and nobody's buying it, you sell 100 widgets, you make a couple grand. You know, are you going to spend 100 times that amount to defend against an infringer? Maybe. If they're profitable, maybe you do.
Mhm.
Or maybe you try and look at selling it to a large company who would have the resources to defend it. Uh, you can always do that. You can look at licensing deals to try and get some money out of it too. There's different ways that you can get money out of your invention, but if it's just not valuable or profitable, it's probably not a great idea to file a lawsuit that's going to break you.
Right. Right.
Trademarks are a little different, because you can actually file this with Customs and Border Patrol. Once you have a registered trademark, you can file your trademark with Customs and Borders Patrol, and they'll look for any infringing products that come through. So as long as they exactly match what you're selling, they'll confiscate them as they're being
Really?
imported. Yeah, as they're being imported. It's not going to work for somebody making it in Pennsylvania, probably. You have to go search for that. But yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you still have to pay for that service to the Customs and Border Patrol, but yeah, they'll do it.
Wow. I had no idea that was even a thing.
Mhm.
And now it makes me ask a lot of questions like, well, how do they search for it? How does it hit? Do they have,
It's a great
what type of
question.
software do they have? I don't know, but we don't have time to go down that rabbit hole right now.
Yeah, maybe they're going to start using AI for it.
Why wouldn't they already? I mean, assume they're already using facial recognition stuff and
Mhm.
other things. So anyway, a topic for another day, I guess. So, yeah, so I don't know if you got anything there, because I do want to ask more about just just Feeney, IP Law Group and kind of where you guys are, how everybody can get in touch with you and all that stuff too. But before we get there, Hal.
No, this was good. It was super informative. I think people have to go back and watch a couple times to kind of like absorb all of the knowledge that was dropped here. But I think it's really important. I think before I go to start any of my companies, I always go to that search the trademark website with the government, and I go there and I start punching around before I start any company. So it's just one of the things that I do. I've registered several trademarks of my own with my companies. So that is, I think, first and foremost what people need to really think about as they are starting a company. The naming and the branding and everything else is really, really important. But if somebody else has that trademark and it's registered, then you're SOL.
Oh, so yeah, speaking of that, Hal, have you registered the new logo there?
I've not. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call this a business yet. So,
I think Hal is right. Definitely go to the USPTO and look. But if you want, an in-depth look, because it's not just going to be a straight hit on, 214 consulting. Maybe the USPTO or someone registered 314 consulting or 215 consulting. And so the USPTO thinks it's similar enough that people will be confused. Mm-hmm. Maybe numbers are not the best one, but I mean, Apple, Snapple, Bapple, foreign languages, you have to tell the office if you're using, a French word that means apple here, right? Because it's going to be they're the same word. Right. Or, derivatives of words, you try and change a letter to a Y instead of an I, or throw an X instead of a CK, or, anything like that. As long as it looks similar or sounds similar, that's going to go into whether or not there's going to be a likelihood of confusion. And trademark law is just all for consumers. So you have to think in terms of that. If your customer is looking at your product name and another product name, are they going to think it's the same company? Are they going to be confused? Are they going to say, why is there an Apple computer and a Bapple computer?
Right. You just made me think of the old movie, and maybe I'm dating myself here, but Coming to America. It's not that old. But it's a classic, right? And you got the in-law there who isn't McDonald's, it's McDonald's. And it's a Mac burger and Mac fries and Mac everything, right? But it looks just like it. I'm like, oh man, they'd be all over that if this was real. Right. I think we have another question too. Let me scroll back up here. So
they did that in the movie with Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. Was it Coming to America?
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Is that the one you're talking? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, Coming to America. Yeah.
McDonald's and
exactly.
Different, like they have the Big Mac, we have the something else, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and he's trying to say how different it is, and it's like, no, you are ripping it off completely, and you would get sued if this was real life. All right. So question that came in here. So what should a small business think about or start putting together if they want to start either the patent process or trademark process?
Yeah, patent process, write down everything about your invention, keep notes, because we're eventually going to have to file an application, and it's going to have certain parts, come up with a title for it, what you think your invention is, some background information. Is there anything that's out in the public right now that's similar to it? Is yours just an improvement over something that's already existing? And then you're gonna have to write a detailed description of your invention. You're gonna have to describe what it is and enable somebody else to be able to read through your application and be able to make and use what your invention is. And then you can think up some of the claims, but usually that's what the patent attorney gets all the money for, is coming up with the claims to define your invention. And the claims are going to be what you can, if you do get a patent granted, those are going to be what you can enforce against everybody else.
And the claims, right? Just to make sure that this is clear, and this is only because I watched one video, so I'm kind of like a subject matter, guru now at this point, is basically saying like what the end result's going to be. So it's not literally step by step by step by step, even though that's part of it, right? So somebody can't just say, oh, I changed just one step, so it's a different patent, right? It's like, but if the end goal is going to be the same, if it produces the same thing at the end, like you can still be infringing on it.
Yeah, it all depends. So you can patent.
Did they teach you that in law school, by the way?
They did, yeah.
Okay, day one, it depends. Day two,
one,
it depends. And then
you hear it every class, every day, with every hypothetical that some student can dream up. But you can patent in a process, machine, manufacture, composition of matter, a method. So usually if it's some type of device, you say, my device has, these 5 things, and that's what I'm claiming. So if somebody else uses those 5 things, you should be able to enforce your patent against them. What you were asking about, if I switched out E with something else, like it does kind of depend. If it ends up doing the same function in the same way, you can still enforce your patent against it. If they switch out E with G and it completely changes what this device does, that's probably a new invention. So it really depends on what the claim says, how it functions, what it is, what experts in the field, PhD scientists, engineers are going to say at trial, anything like that. It's a lot goes into it. It's usually not just cut and dry.
Yeah, and what in life is, especially nowadays.
And then I guess for a trademark process, let someone, if you come up with a trademark that you like, a word, a phrase, an image, a logo, design, whatnot, just make sure you search it first. Think up maybe some different ways to write it that sound like it, and you can search those too. That's usually what we would do. If you find something, just always speak to an attorney, I think is just the best, especially for a trademark. And then, if you don't get this first trademark that you really like, a lot of them, or at least we ask that you send over, come up with 5 names that you like that are very different from each other. And we'll search all those too. And we'll just keep searching until we find something that you like that's available.
Yeah, that's a smart way to go. So, all right, perfect. I don't know if I'm missing anything. I had a bunch of notes here. I just want to make sure that I have everything that at least I wanted to discuss, but you brought up a ton of more stuff that I'm glad we were able to discuss here. And I'm glad that we had some questions come through. If there's anything else you think we might have missed or that is just extremely important as a message, before we close here.
Well, always talk to an attorney. If you do get a letter, definitely send it over to us. Just send it straight over. Have an attorney look over it, see if we can help you out with it. If it's copyrights, patents, trademarks, anything intellectual property, go find an IP attorney, because you're going to need one, because it can get very expensive very quickly.
All right. So as far as yourself and your firm there, so if I can call you a firm, but your group there, where are you guys located? Who do you service, and how do people find you?
Yeah, so we're in the Foundry building in downtown Providence, or right next to the mall. You can go to feeneylawgroup.com. We have a website. It's all over the place. We're on LinkedIn as well. We've been posting more recently because besides the 3 attorneys that we have there, we brought on a new business developer, Nathan, and then we have two interns for the summer. So they've been kind of working in the background, putting together things.
Nice. By chance, are you using the SkillBridge program for the interns?
No, not for the interns, but I think we do send some of our clients through SkillBridge.
All right, yeah, because SkillBridge is something that I utilize a lot when I'm a logistics company. You work with, it's Department of Defense, but they take transitioning service members in the last up to 6 months of their contract. Sometimes it's 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, the depends on the service, depends on the command structure, but they'll release them for their last, handful of months to a civilian company to get hands-on real world experience, and businesses don't have to pay for it. So actually you're required where you cannot legally pay them anything because they're still on full military pay. So you're not allowed to pay them at all. So it's a great program though, because they get a chance where you could do it in person or online. I had some virtual people too work, and they get the training, and then they get a recommendation. So if they work well and you have a position in the company, you can hire them directly, and then they hit the ground running with months of experience already. Or they might want to go elsewhere, but they can get a letter of recommendation from the group, and it helps them transition. So, it's kind of a win-win for everybody. It's a great program. I do recommend small businesses to get into it because you can get a flow of good quality, smart, well-managed people into your organization for free. So
one other thing I should mention on top of that is, like the Small Business Administration gives out loans, but sometimes your state or local government will have grants and they give out, a few grand here and there. RIHub, I think, has been giving out, $5,000 for a patent or a provisional patent application each year to individuals. There's grants that go up to, $75,000, $100,000. So if you're looking for funding, there's a lot of different avenues that you can go through.
Yeah, I actually just picked up a client that got an SBIR funding approved for a phase 1. And then if it goes well, he'll move it to phase 2, which opens up even more money. I forget the dollar amounts that they get, but tens and tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands for phase 1, and then it could be millions for phase 2 that they get. So if you provide some sort of service that the government is looking for research and development, and there can be some money out there for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So awesome. I don't know if there's anything else. And I got to say thank you. You guys couldn't see it there, but Abby's been in the background here feeding some questions and notes and key information. So just shout out to Abby there in the background. And before we sign off here, I just want to see if there's anything else, Hal, Logan, or Abby, that you have.
No, I think we covered everything. I think anybody watching, thanks for, if you were in the service, thanks for your service. I think more people should join.
Join the service or join our community, because that'd be
great. Join the service. Join the service. Join the community here. You get friends for life. I still talk to a lot of my friends from the boat, and I've been off for 5 years now.
Yeah. No, Hal's one of the best preachers of, the veteran community in general. And I too will say that it's the most underutilized resource that we have as veterans going out there. I can tell you that honestly, in my professional career, since I left, the active duty and started, not only in small business, but also dealing in the corporate world or other contracts, whatever. Anytime I ever hit a wall with something, I had a question about something or needed support somewhere, I literally would just post it out there. And there was always somebody, at least from the veteran community, that came out and would offer just, support, guidance, resources. I've never not been able to find a resource tapping the community. So yeah, definitely underutilized. All right. Well, I want to hold true to the time here. So we're coming up at the top of the hour. I thank you so much for coming on. I know we scheduled this probably like a month out. So I appreciate you remembering to show up here this morning. I know how life can get busy. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully we can have you on again in the future. And if anybody wants to reach out, Logan's here, but his group is there. So VIP Law, we'll drop all the links in the notes here. So we're going to put this on our veteran business community. So if you're not already one of the few hundred members that's on our community there, you can just go to veteranbusinesscommunity.com and you'll get rerouted right to our school platform. We're working on another landing page, I think, Hal, right? You're probably in the process of that, I think. So there might be something else there, but feel free to join there. There's free information for small businesses that are in that startup. idea phase, maybe early on pre-revenue, where there's a bunch of free information and resources for you there. And then there's a good dozen classes and other one-on-one consulting and training that you'd have access to for any of the premium or VIP tiers, which start at just $29 a month. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're a veteran, you want to get in business, that's where veterans go to start their business. So hopefully we'll see you over there if you're not there already. All right. Other than that, take care, everybody. I'll say God bless this time for some reason. I have the urge to say it. And as always, stay profitable.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Hal.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye.
You served your country honorably. Now follow hundreds of other veteran entrepreneurs to start your own mission as a business owner. The Veterans Business Community has all the resources you will need to be successful as a small business owner. Join today.